Why? Simply moving a digit from one place to the left multiplies its value by 10. More than 2000 years ago, in ancient India, Rishi Patanjali explained it so simply. The same woman may be called a daughter, a mother, or a sister. Her identity doesn't change, only her relationship does. Likewise, the same number changes its value according to its position. This is a mathematical language that passes every computer, bank, scientific calculation, and smartphone today. But have you ever paused to ask a simple question? Who taught humanity to think this big? Every story of mathematics begins with counting. In fact, every act of counting begins with a very simple fundamental thing, giving numbers a name. So the very first lesson a child learns in mathematics is counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. But what about counting the number of stars or counting the age of the universe? How did we figure out counting extremely large numbers? Let's move 5000 years ago, where the civilization of Egypt and Mesopotamia developed their own system of counting numbers. In ancient Mesopotamia, the scribes developed one of the ancient numeral positional counting number system known as sexagesimal or base 60 number system. The legacy still survives today when you measure the angles or when you measure time. For example, 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, or 360 degree of a circle. In Egypt, the mathematician used hieroglyphic system with distinct symbols for powers of 10. In fact, they have a special symbol for 1 million. The astonished man with raised arms. So they use these symbols for writing inscription, religious text, and taxation and administrative purposes. In later period, the Chinese mathematician developed the rod numeral system, a decimal notation where digits 1 to 9 were represented by counting rods. A digit's position determined its value, while an empty space showed the absence of the value. A sophisticated approach to calculation. But the Greeks and Romans, however, took a different turn. So if you were a Roman citizen in the 1st century CE, writing a number like 4888 required an exhausting 16 characters. Now imagine doing operations like multiplication, addition, subtraction with these numbers. So Roman numerals were good for inscription, but really cumbersome for calculation. So the Greeks transformed geometry, logical reasoning, philosophy. But when it comes to numbers, they stopped at myriad, a number used to depict 10,000. So the story of large numbers takes an interesting turn in India. So the first quoted evidence is marked in 1000 BCE in Shukla Yajurveda, where you can see they have given number name. The text recites an elegant progression: Eka, Dasha, Sata, Sahasra, Ayukta, Niyukta, Prayukta, Arbuddha, Niyarbuddha, Samudra, Madhya, Anta, Parardha. The different number names. So if you dig further into the Buddhist philosophy, Jain philosophy, the Jain literature, it just enters a rabbit hole. It is like so exhausting, the kind of work which have been done by the Indian scholars. By 800 BCE, the Indian mathematicians had defined standardized powers of 10 up till 62, that is 10 to the power 62. But why did they need such huge numbers? The answer lies in how they viewed time. To a Western mind, time is linear. There's a start and an end. But to an Indian mind, time was like a wheel, cyclical, vast, and ancient. In fact, in Mahabharata, time is defined as the ultimate force which brings creation and destruction. In texts like Surya Siddhanta and Puranas, time is measured in yugas. 4 yugas form a Mahayuga, 1000 Mahayugas form a single Kalpa, which is just one day in the life of Brahma, the creator. Without telescopes, supercomputers, or satellite, Ancient Indian astronomers were casually operating on a time scale of 8.64 billion years for a single night and day cycle of Brahma. Here is a mind-bending parallel. A single human day contains 86,400 seconds. Single cosmic day and night of Brahma contains 8.64 billion years. Take a moment to let that sink. The ancient Indians viewed human life as a direct mathematical mirror of the infinite universe. Around the 5th and 4th century BCE, the great Sanskrit grammarian Panini, in his monumental work Ashtadhyayi, uses established numerical terms such as Laksha and Koti. This shows that these large number names were no longer confined to Vedic or ritual literature, but became standardized vocabulary of Sanskrit. Now let us visit a time in 3rd century CE from an ancient Buddhist text written in Sanskrit, the Lalita Vistara Sutra. The story goes that Prince Gautama wished to marry Princess Gopa, but her father demanded that the prince prove his worth. He was questioned by the great mathematician, a scholar named Arjuna. So Arjuna asked, "Prince, do you know the counting system beyond Koti?" Gautama doesn't just answer, he goes on an exponential rampage. He in fact names the number of sands, number of grains using this number. So Gautama didn't just win the competition, he casually sailed past the atomic scale of a human body and sailed straight into cosmic space. The answer lies in the way that Indians viewed mathematics. So from ancient times, mathematics was never an abstract intellectual exercise in India. It was a practical tool. But unlike many other ancient cultures, Indian thought did not separate the practical maths from spiritual maths. So mathematics was used to record growth, to record taxes and other calculation. It was also used to draw the religious calendar, to understand heavens, or to in fact understand the cosmos. So Jyotisha was another very critical factor in Indian mathematics growth. So Indian obsession with astronomy and astrology, which was a part of Jyotisha, could be called as one of the major factors in the development of mathematics. Religion also played a very huge role. As a mathematics teacher, this part of the story fascinates me the most. The genius of the Indian decimal system of representation is not complex but breathtakingly simple. Once you understand it, you can count forever. Let's take an example. Imagine you own an orchard of apples. Every time you pick an apple, you place it into a small basket that can hold only 9 apples. The moment the 10th apple arrives, the basket is full. So instead of carrying 10 individual apples, you tie them together into one bundle. You are no longer counting apples, now you are counting bundles. So when you collect 10 bundles, they became one crate. 10 crates become one cart. 10 carts become one warehouse. And the process never ends. So with just 10 symbols, you can count any number imaginable. Today, this idea feels completely natural. But this raises another fascinating question. How did ancient scholars remember enormous numbers long before printing press, notebooks, or calculators? They turned mathematics into poetry. For centuries in India, knowledge was transferred through the Guru Shishya tradition. Students preserved vast amount of knowledge by listening, reciting, and repeating. Mathematics was not an exception. Indian scholars combined numeracy with literacy, encoding numbers into Sanskrit verses. That was aesthetically pleasing and easy to remember. Numbers became poetry, mathematics became music. The most earliest and ingenious technique was known as Bhuta Samkhya system. Instead of writing digits directly, scholars represented numbers through familiar objects naturally associated with those quantities. Why don't you try decoding this? So when I say Agni, Netra, and Chandra, which is fire, eyes, and moon, what are the three digits we're talking about? Yes, you're right. That is 3, 2, 1. But Indian mathematics did not stop there. By the medieval period, the Indian scholars have defined an ingenious cipher known as the Kattapayadi system. So instead of object representing numbers, in this case, the Sanskrit consonant became the numbers. There was no place for vowels. In fact, from the name itself, it is clear. Ka, ta. So it starts from ka, the consonants, ta, then pa, and ya. So that's why it's called as Kattapayadi system. So one of the best work which you can see is the work done by the Kerala School of Astronomy and Mathematics. To an ordinary person, it looks like a verse which is speaking about a song sung in devotion of Lord Krishna. But hidden in it is the value of mathematical constant pi. So behind these Sanskrit verses, you could have astronomical calculations or in fact a sine table and cosine table. Imagine centuries before calculators or computers, one could memorize 31 digits of pi simply by reciting a poem. This was far more than a clever trick. It reflected a civilization in which language, poetry, astronomy, and mathematics were woven together into a single intellectual tradition. Knowledge was not merely written, it was remembered, it was recited, it was sung. And through that remarkable tradition, it managed to survive for centuries. The Indian understanding of the decimal system was too powerful to be confined in India. Around the 8th and the 9th century CE, scholars at the House of Wisdom in Baghdad translated Indian mathematical works into Arabic. Among them was the great Persian mathematician Muhammad Musa al-Khwarizmi, which introduced the Indian method of computation to the Islamic world. Merchants quickly adopted these numerals because they made calculation dramatically faster than the older system. Astronomers embraced them, mathematicians expanded them. From Baghdad, the Indian decimal system spread across Islamic world and eventually reached Europe. In 1202 CE, a young Italian merchant son named Leonardo of Pisa, better known as Fibonacci, published one of the most influential books in the history of mathematics, Liber Abaci, the Book of Calculation. Having learned the modus Indorum or the Indian method during his travels in North Africa, Fibonacci was astonished by its elegance and efficiency. He wrote in his book, "This 9 figures and with the sign 0, any number may be written." That simple statement marked the beginning of a mathematical revolution in Europe. But revolutions rarely happen overnight. For nearly 4 centuries, Europe witnessed a struggle between two competing systems. On one side were the Abacists, who continued to rely on Roman numerals and counting boards. On the other were the Algorists, who championed the Hindu-Arabic numerals and new methods of calculation. The very word algorithm derives from the Latinized name of Al-Khwarizmi, whose work helped spread Indian arithmetic throughout the medieval world. Slowly, the advantages of the decimal place value system becomes impossible to ignore. Commerce becomes easier, science becomes precise, engineering became more powerful. Eventually, the mathematics won. Today, whether we calculate a child's age, measure the distance, store terabytes of data, or estimate world's economy in trillions of dollars, we all are speaking the same mathematical language. As the great French mathematician Pierre Simon Laplace observed, it is India that gave the indigenous method of expressing numbers by means of 10 symbols. while researching the history of large numbers, I realized I had fallen in something called as a rabbit hole. It was not easy. There is so much of information in Indian civilization. So while researching the Vedas, I stumbled into Buddhist philosophy. Then there is Jain philosophy, which have amazing description about the ways of infinity, which I realized I need another video to describe infinity. So as I kept researching on these large numbers along with works done by other civilization, one question always troubles me. Why do we compare civilization and to determine which civilization did a better work? So there's a beautiful couplet by the 15th century poet Saint Kabir that perfectly captures the feeling. कस्तूरी कुंडल बसे मृग ढूंढे बन माही ऐसे घट घट राम है दुनिया देखे नाही. The translation is a musk deer wanders through the forest searching for the source of the wonderful fragrance, never realizing that the scent comes from the musk within itself. Sometimes I feel history is much the same. We have such amazing stories and yet we keep searching for ideas or we look for inspiration in other places. So the story of decimal system is not just the only story. There are more questions. How about infinity? That's something which we'll explore in another video. If you come across any amazing facts on large numbers, do ensure to share it. I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care.